Hey guys, working on our next unit here. We're going to be focusing on how to manipulate text to convey meaning, and we're working our way up towards making some logos. For this, we're going to have to use the program Inkscape because we don't have access, obviously, to our school computers and Adobe Illustrator. But this logo on the desktop that says Inkscape, this is a free version, pretty much, of Adobe Illustrator. A little bit different, maybe not as intuitive, but I'm going to show you a couple different ways that you can manipulate text using this program. If you don't have this installed on your computer, I know I got all of the fourth block installed, but if you go down to the bottom here to Software Center, you should have it already as an option. It's a program that's readily available through the district that you can just download onto your computer. If you can't get this to work on your tablet, you can do it on any computer. It's also free on the internet if you just search for Inkscape and download the extension, and you'll be able to get the computer program onto your computer that way as well. With this, I don't know if you need to be on the district Wi-Fi, but if you search for the program here, or it may be one of the ones down in here already that you'll be able to click on. Your computer may require a restart, so that may be part of it. You might have to shut your computer off and back on and try it again if it's not allowing you to download Inkscape. Once you have Inkscape open, you notice that a lot of the tools are somewhat similar to Illustrator. I know we touched on a couple in our first projects. Remember where we were working with text? You have some options here on the right under text and font. So if I go create and edit text objects, if I hover over it, it tells you what it does. Click on that, and I can drag my. When you're editing text, you have some options here, right? I can make it pick a font, italic, bold, or regular. Might help to dictate the meaning of whatever you're trying to illustrate. You can also change the size, right? Okay. So get your couple words on the document. In Illustrator, we had to create outlines, if you remember, but for Inkscape, if we just use the arrow, it will let us resize things, stretch them as if they're shapes already. So I've just got my couple words, and I'm going to make them bigger on my canvas. Okay, there's a couple basic techniques you can use to manipulate text. The first one I want to show you is called text on a path. And what we're going to do is the word curve. I'm planning to draw a path and then curve the text so that it will curve with the path. A path is just a line. It could be a shape or a line. So what I'm going to do is if I come down here, hover over this, there's this tool called a Bezier curve tool. What that is, it's just like a mathematical word to draw shapes. If I click, come over here, and click and drag, I'm going to make a curve. If I let go of the mouse, hit enter, now I have a curve. Much like Illustrator, we have different fill and stroke we can put on it, if you remember that from what we did in our first project. Right? If I click the fill and stroke tab, right now you can see my curve has no fill and it has a stroke. Okay, it's just a black stroke, and that's fine for now. What I want to do to put the curved text on the curved path or stroke, okay. If I hold shift and click on the text, now you see I have both items selected, right? You could tell by the checkered outline of both objects, right? So I'll show you again. If I click the text, hold shift and click on the line, same thing. Path, object to path. Okay, sorry. So it's text put on path, and then the text should curve to the path. If I wanted to, I could go and take the stroke off of the path then, and you'd be left with just the text and not the line underneath. The next thing I'm going to do here is called an envelope deformation. What that means is we're taking the text and we're going to distort it into a different shape. So here I typed out the word sphere, and the idea is to shape it into a sphere like the one here on the right. In order to do that, I have to go to path and object to path. That's similar to what we did in Illustrator where we did create outlines. It changes it from being text to being an editable shape. This box over here, this dialog box, is what I need, but to get that, if I go to path and path effects, that brings up this box here. If I click the plus button, there's a bunch of different options here of ways you can manipulate a shape. The one I want is called the envelope deformation, as I mentioned before, and I'm going to click add. Okay, so if I go over here, top bend, first thing I'm going to do is make my text a little taller. If I grab it in the middle, I want it to curve. So you can see as I drag it up, I'll get as close as I can to a sphere. And I can adjust, these little things are called handles. If I move this, I can adjust the curve a little bit too. Okay, let me try the bottom now. I'm going to put my word sphere over top of the sphere. Object. Raise the top. I'll put it over top so that I can use the circle underneath as a template, right? And that's pretty close. You can even make all different kinds of shapes. I just did a sphere for simplicity's sake, but you can combine shapes like we did in Illustrator or draw your own shapes in order to create different effects, right? For instance, right? I can make a fish and I could make it say, the fish could also be used as a shape that I could use as a template to mold my text into that shape, right? Another technique I want to show you here is how to cut text. You can cut a shape out of text, or you can cut a line through text. So in order to do that, the first thing we have to do, much like Illustrator, object to path, changed it from being text into an editable shape, right? The other thing I want to do is I'm going to treat each letter individually. So I'm going to go to Object and Ungroup. As you can see, now each letter has a selection around it that allows me to edit each letter individually. I can draw just a line using the curve tool, similar to the pen tool in Illustrator. If I select the letter and that line I just drew, we have options much like the Pathfinder in Illustrator here, where you can cut in various different ways, right? I click division. Now my C is in two separate shapes. I can move the pieces around and make it look like a portion is cut out. I'm holding Shift to select both, or just drag over the whole thing. I use my arrow key to just leave a little space. Let's see. As you can see now, my text looks like it has a series of cuts going through it. Another technique to manipulate text would be to just stretch it or skew it by moving the nodes or the little points that make up the letters themselves. Object to path. If I use this tool, you can see I can actually stretch the nodes themselves. If I grab a couple of them at a time, I can drag the whole thing up. As you can see, there are many, many different options that allow you to manipulate text in different ways. And this will be really useful when we go to making logos, because a lot of logos have these kind of fun wordplay things that happen in ways that text is curved around a circle, traditional kind of circular logo, or even just the cut could have some kind of meaning or context within the design. Last thing I want to mention is just that you're going to make 2 out of your 5 drawings, right? You should have made 5 drawings on paper. You're going to pick 2 of those words to illustrate on the computer. Look at all the samples that I supplied both on the website and on Google Classroom, as well as that worksheet that you were kind of with the first set of instructions, and pick a word that's not on any of those. You have to